I've personally invested in 30 properties in 11 countries, but I just came back from one country that I'm going to take a second look at. And if I told you that this country had one of the world's largest real estate developers just commit to $6 billion of investment, I think you want to have a second look too. Hi, this is Jeremy from the Millionaire Migrant. Here we cover everything you need to know regarding global politics, regarding tax mitigation strategies, international real estate investment opportunities, and second citizenships, passports, golden visas, tax residencies, you name it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what happened out there, what I saw out there, and I'm going to tell you how to take advantage of this opportunity. And then I'm going to go through it bit by bit, including tax, closing costs, exit costs, mortgage costs, and the like. One of the world's largest real estate developers that built the world's tallest tower, Burj Khalifa, has just committed to invest $6 billion in Georgia. $6 billion. They are going to spread this across two projects, one in Tbilisi, the capital, one in Batumi down by the coast. And this is estimated to have an economic impact of around 2 to 3% per year in terms of economic growth for those two cities alone. And they're expecting that they will already start to feel the impact within 1 year already. This is a clear sign that Georgia's positioning itself as one of the big real estate opportunities and global investment hotspots for 2025, 2026, and years after. As soon as I saw this news, I knew that I needed to visit Georgia as soon as possible in 2025. So I mixed it in with a holiday with the family. The kids, we all went to skiing in Gudari, which was very nice, a bit limited, but it's a good place for beginners. Anyway, so we ended up going to Tbilisi, the capital. I wasn't too keen on going to Batumi, not because it wasn't the right time of year to be going to a seaside resort, but I never really like investing in areas that are reliant on short-term tourism, short-term stays. I need something that's year-round. I need a place that has an existing large population. After we finished the holidays, we went down to Tbilisi and we had a look around for a few days. I was told before going that people were saying, oh, you know, it used to be good, but it's not so attractive right now. But actually, either it's because of connections that I have, and again, I do reference this a few times. I'm a little bit fortunate to have, because of the business I've been running for 15 years, quite a good network of introducers and connectors that can help me get really nice, the most important people in town, you could say. I was able to visit a few properties, and we saw, I thought, 5 or 6 properties, but 2 of them were really, the only reason I didn't actually put any money down is because I hadn't gone in with too much forehand knowledge. It was kind of off the cuff. And that was probably the one thing that made me slow down and say, look, I can't be coming here just on the off chance and decide to buy a property just like that. I need to kind of slow things down, but it's good that I made these contacts. But I was seriously impressed by some of the opportunities you can get there. And I'm going to come to that in a minute. If we're looking at this as a price per square meter, this is really important. You need to have a rough idea of the price per square meters because you want to know basically how close it is to build cost. Some of the best deals I've ever done in the world have been literally at build cost or sometimes marginally below build cost. That's when you know you're getting a good deal. But if you look at Tbilisi, $2,200 is the average for the city center in terms of price of property. If you go outside, it drops down to $1,200. We can compare this with Batumi. Batumi is $1,300, so more or less what you get for outside, and then it drops to $900 when you're going to go past Batumi further along the coastline. But as I mentioned, I'm not going to look at Batumi. We did meet with some developers there who are building a very, very tall tower there, but I'm not particularly interested in there. I've never really wanted to go in. I don't mind secondary cities, but probably not tertiary cities and so on. I looked at 3 different areas that I thought were the key areas that I wanted to be invested in, which are generally prime and then slightly below prime. So we looked at Vaque. Vaque is very Parisian in its feel. The architecture is very similar, wide boulevards, tree-lined, very nice area, very upmarket area. We looked down there and then we looked at Vera. So Vera is where you have Stanba, which is a very cool, bustling, digital nomad kind of epicenter. And we looked at an apartment there that was, I'm going to talk to in a minute, that was really interesting. And then we looked at Old Tbilisi area where it's really cute, very quaint, but a lot of those properties really need a lot of work. There's a lot of rundown properties. There's also a couple of new projects, but they were launched a year or so ago. So I don't want to be coming in and be the last guy to buy there. All the good stuff is gone. And it was also at the best price, obviously. When we looked at these properties, we also looked at the ROI in terms of who'll be renting it. We're looking at Airbnb. We're looking at kind of medium-term digital nomads. You know, this is again dollar-based, so that's very interesting for me. I do like to get tenants that pay in dollars, even if now the dollar is a bit shaken up. But we also looked at other areas and other types of renting, which is long-term for Georgian tenants. I was recently quoted in Luxus magazine about the hotspots for millionaire migrants in 2025, where I talked about a lot of places I've invested in over the years, places I've worked in but not invested in, and also places which I'm looking at this year. And Georgia wasn't really on my spectrum, but now when I start to look at the deals that were on the table in front of me, I'll tell you about that in a minute. But one of those properties was really quite attractive, and I'm starting to have second thoughts about not doing it. But again, as I said, I don't want to go turn up to a city on holiday and then just basically drop a significant amount of money on buying it. But what I did do is I did kind of prepare for going back again. Ended up a bank account there with which was very simple, very straightforward. I like these type of places where you can open up a very good bank account with a lot of international transfers at reasonable rates. It was a dollar account, Georgian lari account as well. I even gave a power of attorney just so I'm ready to pull the trigger. So that type of stuff meant that I'm in a position to get ready when I have finished all the stuff I need to do with other parts of my portfolio. I'm offloading a couple of properties, and then I'm going to be ready to be having a look at a second time again in Georgia. If you'd like to know more about investing in real estate, you can always jump on a call with myself or one of my colleagues who are experts in particular fields. But we're also going to be releasing very soon a guide about how to take advantage of investing in real estate in different parts of the world. I put this together using 23 years of experience and millions of dollars invested and millions of dollars of money returns on my investments. And I'm going to lay this all out to you so that you can apply this principle in every single country you look at in the world. A few things that I need to take away about Georgia. So one of them was the fact that there's no limitations on foreign ownership except for agricultural land. There is a way that we can work around this. I won't talk about it on camera, but again, I have access to some real experts who've given me some solutions, and we'll come back to that at a later stage. But I think for now, there's already enough juicy opportunities in Tbilisi that we don't really need to consider this. Let's go a little bit back in time so that we can understand where we are today and what's expected to happen in the future. If you look at the market growth, the rents increased from 100 to 230% in some places. And this went up, and this had a correlation with sale prices, which then went up 30 to 40%, because obviously when rents go up that much, you want to get involved in the property game. So a lot of people started buying up properties, pushing up the prices. But in mid-2023, there was a correction. This could only last for a certain period of time. And what happens is the rental prices have stabilized, and they are still 30% above pre-war values, but property prices are 9 to 10% above pre-war values. So if you think about that for a minute, you're still getting really attractive ROIs, which is what I saw when I looked at some of these properties. Now, some of them were 7 and 8%, but some were 11 and 12%. A lot of you might be thinking, well, how about if I do it in short term? Because if you look at a lot of countries, Colombia, Turkey, UAE, to name a few, you look at those countries, and if you're going on short-term lets, you're typically getting 1, 2, 3%, something like that, a little bit higher than on a long-term let. The thing is, though, Airbnb yields have kind of come down quite a lot. So you're pretty much the same as you'd be getting on long-term. So you're looking at, as I mentioned, between 8 and 12s. You might as well just do long-term. So you got the commitment rather than having the volatility or uncertainty that comes with short-term. Now, one of the two amazing parts that I really liked about Georgia that I was pleasantly surprised with. This is loans. You can get a mortgage in Georgia with a good loan to value rate, 70% can be done, at a very decent rate, 7%. And this basically is where you're going to make the real money. This is when you apply a 7% mortgage rate with an ROI of 12%, sometimes a little bit higher, as I mentioned, that's where you really start to get a lot of investment opportunities. Because if you look at other parts of the world, you probably, let's say in the UK is fantastic because you can get interest only mortgages rather than capital and interest. But if you go there, your ROI is 5%. If you're lucky, you get 6, 7. But now that the government is trying to clamp down on all this landlord stuff, you're not going to make that much juice left over. But if you go to a country like Georgia and you're making 12%, you're paying out 7%. I mean, this is where you start to make really interesting money. And this is what got me really very interested. The only condition is that you can only do this on the second property because they use the first property as the collateral for the loan. Property taxes are 0 to 1% depending on the property value. This is again positive news. And it's also a territorial tax jurisdiction. So that means it's one of the few countries, and increasingly few countries, that you can live in and really enjoy a high quality of life and do a lot of business and it will only charge you 1% on the revenue that you're generating outside the country. So this is extremely attractive and would explain why so many investors are digital nomads and so many of the tenants themselves are also digital nomads. So it's a very digital nomad friendly country to be. On top of this, you can also get residency. So it's $100,000 or you can do a fast track at $300,000, and that reduces the waiting time to get permanent residency from 10 years for the $100,000 option or down to 5 years if you do the $300,000 option. A lot of people probably asking at this stage, okay, what about getting a passport? This is something that we have also started exploring. So there isn't a citizenship by investment program as such. It's not there. There was something that was announced recently in China a couple of months ago and then quickly taken down. But that tells me that there's something a little bit around there, and I'm going to start digging a little bit deeper with some of my high-level contacts there to see if there's some kind of play there that can be done that would meet these thresholds. So that's really something interesting to watch out for. If you're curious about passports, we are backed by Savory and Partners, which is one of the world's best known and government accredited citizenship by investment firms. And so we have a lot of expertise around this sector. So even as we are watching this on YouTube, we have physical offices in different countries. And when it comes to citizenship and residency, we are experts in this space. But I'm talking here about real estate, and I want to tell you the full picture of why I'm going to have a second look about Georgia. The reason why we wanted to just take it cool and not rush into anything in terms of buying a property there is because we were aware of the political situation, the backdrop in Georgia that's been going on for about a year now. Since May 2024, there was a lot of large-scale protests in Tbilisi about a law that was passed that was called the Foreign Influence Law. So as much as I like the property and I did set up the POA and I did get the bank account and I do know now how to do due diligence by doing title checks and evaluation reports, I think the only thing is I want to see how this whole thing plays out, because this law got passed, which basically meant that companies that do business in Georgia, if more than 20% of their revenue is coming from outside the country, they have to declare themselves and become totally transparent with the government that they're receiving foreign income. Now, a lot of the Georgian citizens are against this. They say this is a lot of Russian influence, and they say that this is not something that is conducive to attracting overseas investment. And so this backdrop is a little bit uncertain. You don't want to be investing in a country that has too much Russian influence. I mean, you talk about Montenegro as another example. Montenegro is very open for business, very westernized, but there is also a lot of Russian influence. And so this could have an impact on its joining the EU. It could happen, it could not happen, but especially with this whole Russia-Ukraine situation, all of this type of stuff is just going to go very, very slow and is going to bubble along in the background. Whether you want to invest in Georgia, reside in Georgia, work in Georgia, take advantage of the territorial tax system is really down to you. What I can tell you is that it's not a country that I'm in a rush to move to anytime soon. I think I've found countries that really appeal to me a lot more. I think the difference that I've noticed with Georgia is that there were some parts was like, I don't think I could live here long term. The food is nice. Customer service I found a bit challenging. But at the same time, there's some real opportunities there, which if you really get in some good deals and it remains a liquid market, it will be very attractive to build some kind of portfolio there over a period of time. And I'm in touch with various people who've been there for some time, building up portfolios and leveraging this very attractive credit system that they've got that is very pro property ownership. If you're ready to dive a little bit deeper into Georgia about investing in property there or about taking advantage of the territorial tax system, reach out to us at millionairemigrant.com. This is what we do every single day. I brought together all the teams that I've had over the years using personal experience, but also experts in different areas. Not one person can be an expert in everything. I know there's a lot of people online who claim to know everything about everything. The reality is you can't. You can have, if you want experts, you can get experts in different areas. So we're talking citizenship, residency, immigration, passports, tax residency, offshore tax-friendly jurisdictions, tax mitigation strategies, trying to exit your current tax system and get into new tax systems, but also everything to do with investment opportunities all around the world. We'll be sharing a guide very shortly. Make sure to subscribe so you get notified on that. And if you need anything else, go to millionairemigrant.com. Thanks for watching.